Good morning, everyone. Aloha. Welcome to the Neutral Zone. It's middle of September 2024, and we have a great show today. Aloha, everyone. I'm Jason Schwartz, your host here at the Neutral Zone, MauiNeutralZone.com. It's anything but neutral. And we have a great guest today. SUSAN Moll is here. SUSAN Moll, best way?
Moll, yeah.
You know, just so happened that yesterday I went to a celebration of life for a man that was respected in the art community here on Maui, George Allen. I don't know if you even know him by name.
No, I don't think so.
But I never knew until yesterday he was called the Mad Mole. The Mad Mole. What? He came over in 1972, way back from Europe on the Hokulea after a world trip, and stayed here. He was already a known artist, and he was here 50 years, and he used to have, I call them apprentices. He'd fill his world with others that were artists, and respects to George. In fact, when you walk into the Maui Arts and Cultural Center, you see there are 43 little paintings in the lobby when you see them.
Yes, yeah.
That's all George Allen.
Oh, really?
Just an amazing guy, really loving guy. And so yesterday at the Maui Botanical Gardens, we had that.
Oh, beautiful.
Now, may I ask a quick question?
You may.
I don't know if you're loud or soft, so I want to give you a platform. When I know you because besides seeing a beautiful woman and saying, wow, what a beautiful woman, but I already am with a beautiful woman, Miss Ariel, who you know. And we sing, because the world sings, but we get together. We have a couple in the group that, boy, they just want to get a chance to sing. They're not in any choirs, even if they are. It's like, so on a porch of a friend, we get together, and that's where I got to know you a little bit more. And we were sitting around at break time there, and I said, so what have you been doing lately? You said, oh, I just got back from Peru. And I said, what? You know, that about what? You would be a great guest. So I want everyone to get to know you, and we'll talk about that. But what did you get back from? What happened?
So it all started in June. So I was browsing through Facebook notifications, which I don't do very often. And I happened to notice a posting from a friend, Shula Marie, who I met in Scotland on a Grail Queen seminar many years ago.
A Grail Queen seminar.
Yes, that I was really called to go to.
Queen.
And I took along with me.
Audience, okay. I'm the subtitle guy.
Oh, I see.
That's all right. I'm just having fun and relaxing.
Okay.
So you met her on a Grail Queen seminar.
Yes, it was a gathering
Scotland.
in Scotland that I was really called to go with, and I took with me several people from Maui and Kauai who also felt the call. A lot of them were English, interestingly enough, and we had a fantastic time, very meaningful. And anyway, this post was Mamacita Maria, who is the high priestess of the Andes, and she was talking in, I think it was Spanish, but it was a dialect that not everybody understands. And she was calling everybody to come to Peru for the gathering of the prophecy being fulfilled in 2024 of the condor and the eagle.
What is that?
The condor is obviously an enormous bird that comes from the south, and the eagle is an enormous bird that we all know of that comes from the west. And so the west and let me get this right. The south and the west. So the west.
We don't know how to fly anyway, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
So anyway,
so it was
come
together in
come together in 2024 in the Andes. And I saw this and I was like, listen to the video, didn't understand a word she said, listen to the translation. And I knew immediately I have to go to this. For some reason, unbeknownst to me, I had to be present. So I immediately contacted Shule, and we were chatting back and forth, and I said, yeah, I've definitely got to come to this. And that night, I had a vision. I'm very blessed to have visions occasionally, especially at night or early in the morning. And Mama Sita Maria, who I'd only seen once in this video, came to me very, very clearly in full screen, like right in front of me. And she made a heart in front of her heart, and she was beckoning me to come. So I knew that was like confirmation that I was being called by the grandmothers. There was 13 grandmothers and grandfathers from all over the world coming together to fulfill this prophecy of bringing the eagle and the condor together.
What history does that come from? What body of information do you hear eagle and condor coming together?
I presume it's from the Peruvian. I mean, all the shamans know about this. There were shamans from Colombia, Mayan shamans, there were Peruvian shamans, there were Argentinian shamans. They came from all over the world.
And shaman we describe as a medicine person?
Medicine man or woman who has studied the ancient practices from that land, as, for example, American Indians or the Mayans, Hawaiians. There was Auntie Vicky and Uncle Thomas came from just in front of Lahaina, and we had a wonderful time.
That's great.
It was absolutely very meaningful, totally profound in every way.
Was it formal in any way?
It was. We followed protocols of the shamans, which I was not so versed in because my lifetime this time around has been more about the angelic connection, channeling, bringing through masters, and that kind of thing. Not so much the shamanic journey and the Hawaiian journey. So this time around.
Well, I'm not sure where to go, except we need to know more about you. 'Cause you're bringing a lot to the game. You're not just like, I thought about this. I think I'm going to go and join some shamans down in Peru. That's quite.
I knew I had to go.
So tell us more about you.
Oh, about me? You don't want to hear about Peru first?
Oh, I do. Well, okay, if you want to.
Yeah.
So
I'd love to continue while I'm on a roll with
please.
that.
Sure.
Anyway, everything, I went through enormous processes the months following in preparation, clearing daily, all my old patterns, everything that needed to go and leave as it is at this time in the world was up for review. So I had a interesting couple of months before I went, but I booked my flight and everything flowed in that direction. And I arrived there, and I met Shule, and then the others gradually dribbled in one by one. And we were in Cusco a few days to acclimatize, and then we went to Sacred Valley, which was a little lower, because, of course, the height it's over 11,500 feet in Cusco. So for us, I went up to Haleakala, and I'm fine up there, but it's different living at that altitude. So I did well. I had a little bit of altitude sickness, but very, very minimal. And had a wonderful few days in Cusco. It's a beautiful city. We discovered a dragon's egg in the cathedral there. And it was huge. And it was stationed opposite its pedestal. It wasn't on the pedestal. They didn't obviously know what it was, but what I received was that it came from the top of the original old buildings, the Peruvian old buildings that were then destroyed.
Oh.
But I don't know about that. Anyway, we had a wonderful few days there, and then we went to Hampisa Wasi, which is even higher up the mountain. It's a retreat center owned by Marlene and her husband, and it's absolutely beautiful. It's all built with sacred materials, all natural stones, straw roofs, very similar to Hawaii in the olden days. but freezing cold. And that was...
You're 10,000 feet up, right?
We were over 10. We were probably 11. I'm not quite sure exactly.
I was wondering.
Yeah, about 12,000 feet. And everywhere you go, it's uphill. So I got pretty
Strong
fit.
legs,
I got pretty fit while I was there. And you know, the breathing was on the hikes. We hiked at 1.5 miles, you know, up and down. And I got on a horse halfway up because I was slow. You know, I was one of the elders of the group. There were a lot of young people, beautiful, beautiful group of young people, equal amounts of men and women, which was absolutely surprising because normally at these kind of gatherings you'll find 90% women and 10% men.
Were these local people? Or
No, they came.
Were half and half?
They came from Mexico.
Wow.
They came from all over the place.
No, so you're talking about these were all
the
imports.
participants. There were I think we were about 100 participants in the end.
Wow.
Yeah, and in the beginning, myself and a couple of others were the only ones who signed up, and we thought it's going to be just us.
Yeah.
But then at the last minute, all these beautiful young people started coming in, and the men particularly, they were so beautiful, Jason. The young men, so honoring and always willing to help me, and always one would stay back with me when I was, you know, struggling up the mountain. And they were steep and it was tough terrain, you know.
I understand.
Yeah. But it was really wonderful. And the mountains, the apus, they call the apus the spirits of the mountain. I mean, I'm very blessed to be able to see faces and people in rocks and in trees and on the floor and all over the place. So I was helping Shule's children to be able to identify the nature spirits and the apus in the rocks.
Wow.
And I was walking up, it was Rainbow Mountain. We were actually at Rainbow Mountain on this particular outing. And I was struggling a little, and I was telling the children about the apus. And after that, it was like they were pushing me up the mountain. It was totally magical. So there were so many days, so many magical experiences. But I think the day that was the most magical was in the morning. They told us we were going to have the opportunity to try a micro dosage of wachuma, which is it's a plant a bit like ayahuasca, I believe. It's a
hallucinogen.
Yeah.
A mental and exciting experience.
Yeah, I don't know much about that. I've never ever tried any of that before.
One more time, what's it called?
Wachuma.
Wachuma, okay.
And I had never ever done anything before, and I was asking for guidance. Shall I participate? And I felt like, you know, it's a micro dosage, and I'm going to give it a go. So we just got a tiny little bit. And I took it, and I just felt completely normal. And then in the afternoon, I had this. What happened was there was this beautiful shamanic group, elders, that came. I'm not quite sure where they came from because everything was in Spanish. And some things were translated, but not everything. They were wandering the Andes on foot, guided by spirit, 4 of them. And there was the one lady who was the main shaman. And she came to join our ceremony, was totally guided by spirit to come. And she arrived on the day of the ceremony of the condor and the eagle coming together. And I believe she had the condor feather, and Marlene had the eagle feather on her staff. And what happened was they put the 2 staffs together, and the feathers together, and bound them as one. And this was the symbolic of the eagle and the condor coming together. And I my body began to shake, and it was from the inside out. I have never quite experienced anything like that before. I don't know if it was associated to the washuma or not, but a lot of the grandmothers and grandfathers, particularly the grandmothers, came to help me to ground, and they said the Divine Mother was coming through me. And this was perfect. I realized after the fact that it was the male and the female, obviously the male and the female coming together as well, and the left and the right side of our brains. I mean, so much symbology in it all. And I believe I was there as a representation of the Divine Mother. And she was definitely coming more and more into my body. And it happened a couple of times that day where they all had to help me to, and they did all sorts of things, like. They had one spat in my eyes because my eyes had been watering. So I have to backtrack a little. So when I went on the journey to Scotland years ago, 2000, I think it was 2016, the minute I got on the plane, my eyes started to cry. But it wasn't emotional crying. They were just tearing all the time. And they teared every single moment of every single day, except when I was sleeping. Wow. During the Scotland trip. And then the same thing happened on the way to Peru. And so it's so dry there, but my eyes were constantly crying and tearing. And I believe it was in Scotland, it was the tears of the mother. And here, I'll come to that later, I believe it was the same thing. Being expressed, all the grief and the sadness that particularly the women have had to endure. I mean, we've all been it all, I know that, and the men have suffered too, of course. But this particular era, it's the women that have had to reclaim gradually their place in the world. And I believe it is now. We are coming into balance, the male and the female. Once again, thank goodness. It's about time, right? So it's about the women claiming their power again. And I've gone through a lot. And I believe this is what this is all about. The male and the female coming together. This condor and the eagle and the balancing. And so we had ceremonies about this. And a lot of it, I didn't understand a lot of it. My heart understood it, but I personally didn't understand because it wasn't translated. So a lot of it went by the by in that case. But that day for me, when the condor and the eagle came together, it felt like that was why I was there. And interestingly enough, I'll tell you a funny little story. So I was staying in a little hut. We all were staying in little huts, or in the main house, some of us. And this hut was so cute. It had a bucket for a loo on which you put sand or wood chippings, compost toilet, and there was a shower. So I arrived late at night one evening, and my shower wasn't working. He was showing me how to use it, and there was no water. And I'm a water person. I love to shower. I need to shower. I need to swim. I'm an air person, but I'm also a water person. I live on the water. And this was like, oh my goodness, I can't have a shower. And there was only a dribble of cold water in the faucet, in the basin, which was tiny. So it's like, I was asking myself, what's this all about? And it was also to do with the divine feminine being dried up, if you like, being turned off. This is what came to me after the fact, as I've been home, week by week, reflecting, just coming to me. Oh, that's what it meant. And one day we went on an outing to a beautiful, beautiful place called Ausangate, and it was the glacier. So we hiked up 5 miles, or I hiked 2.5, and then I got on a horse, and we camped at the top overnight. I was in a room, like a stone building with a straw roof, with others with mattresses on the floor. It was camping, luxury camping, if you like. Some were outside in tents, and we walked the next day to the 7 lakes. We didn't actually make it to all 7, but it was absolutely magnificent. I mean, you're at the top of the world and mountains all around.
Wow.
And as we went to one lake, and it was absolutely crystal clear, beautiful, big, walked to the next one. This represented the divine masculine. This lake was small, deep, clear, and absolutely magnificent. It was, you couldn't go anywhere near it. They had, it was complete, very sacred, and it was representing the divine masculine. We then walked a little just opposite to the divine feminine lake. And as we saw the state of the divine feminine lake, all the women began to sob. It was absolutely devastating, Jason. It was dried up, full of moss and bubbling. It had hardly any water in it at all, just a little at the bottom. And we just sobbed and sobbed, and it was like the tears of the women and the grandmothers was healing the past. And the grandmothers all did their piece in front of the lake. They did their shamanic rituals as they do, smoking cigars and blowing here and there and everywhere. It's not something that I know anything about, right?
But each culture and group had their own thing
Yes,
going on.
exactly, yes. And they are all, each one of them, individually wonderful, wonderful women and men who each had so many different gifts. And it was an honor to be in their presence. They were so humble, so loving, and the whole group was just a bundle of love. It was amazing. I mean, seldom to find something so special and precious.
What a great trip for you.
Oh, my gosh,
My goodness.
Yeah, but I have to finish telling you about the lake.
Please.
This is really important.
Yeah.
So anyway, after they'd done their healing practices, and we were all praying and calling on the violet flame and all we know to do as Westerners, and all of a sudden I look over to the masculine lake, and there's no wind or anything, and it starts to ripple, like as if someone had thrown a stone in the middle, but nobody had. And this ripple started to go out, 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 and all of a sudden, I mean, you know what it's like when the water sparkles. For me, that's always a sign that the water nymphs are coming to our assistance. And they just kept coming. They kept flowing in our direction, and we kept saying to them, go help the divine feminine lake, go help them, go help her. And we all kind of moved our hands like this and guided them over. And it was absolutely wonderful to watch.
Was it like a bridge? A sudden...
Yes, we were like a bridge, guiding these nature spirits to assist the other lake, the divine feminine lake. And I kid you not, Jason, by the time we left, I'm not sure how long it was, maybe half an hour after that, the feminine lake was filling up. She was beginning to sparkle again. I could literally see the water rising, and I received the message, within 6 to 12 months she will be completely, fully restored. And it was completely a representation of what's going on the planet.
Wow.
With all the men and the women in the world. So the men were coming to the assistance of the divine feminine, which I found absolutely beautiful. As it should be.
Yeah, as it should
As
be.
it should be, right? Yeah. And there are so many other wonderful experiences, but those were the most profound, I believe.
Now is the time I'm going to look and see about what you did before this, because that's, even in your explanation, shows that you came into this with some background.
Yes.
Tell us a little about Susan Moll.
Okay. Well, I mean, I was married for many years. I have 3 children, 4 grandchildren. 2 girls are here on Maui, and 3 of the grandchildren are here on Maui.
Wow.
My son Alex is in Austria with his dad near Salzburg, in a skiing resort called Saalfelden. Mm-hmm. And I have a granddaughter there too, his daughter, Malaya. And so we lived in Germany for 22 years. Harry, my ex, is Austrian, and we lived in Germany. We had a tennis center, and I helped run the tennis center.
Wow.
We had 4 indoor courts, 5 outdoor courts, and a restaurant and a shop. And in the beginning, when my husband took over the tennis center, I cleaned in the morning. I cooked all morning. I went shopping. I cooked. I had already taken the kid, Alex, to school. Melanie was just a baby, and I started cooking lunch. I was not a cook. I mean, I was a mother cook, but not. Yeah. Anyway, I learned a lot, as you can imagine, and worked really, really hard for many years. And it was good, but it was tough to be a mother of 3 children and then run a tennis center at the same time. And then one day there was a Stargate workshop on Maui, and I felt we had sometimes attended these workshops in Munich, and we came. And the minute I set foot on Maui, I knew I'm home.
Wow.
It was the first time in my whole life that I felt like I'm at home. Wow. And I knew we have to move here. And so we went back after 3 weeks of laughing and crying and having visions of crystal pyramids rising out of the ocean and past Lemurian times, all being revealed to me and touching me deeply, deeply. We went home via Honolulu to a lawyer who was going to assist us to be able to come back as Europeans with a visa. So my husband got only a 3-month business visa, and we all got to come as his dependents. And at the border, the security man said, well, I'm going to give you another 3 months because the kids have got 6 months and you've only got 3. So that was the beginning of our life on Maui, 1996.
Wow.
And we came on the 9th of December, 1996, with 11 cases, the 3 kids, and we had let go of everything we ever owned in Germany. Wow. We'd given my furniture away, a lot of it to my sister, sent to England, given everything to Yugoslavia at the time because it was the time of, that was the time. And we came and we just had a new life. We started again, and it was beautiful, and it wasn't easy because of the visa. It was a constant battle with the renewing and all of that stuff.
So when we hear it in the current news, you're very familiar with this whole procedure.
Yes.
Immigration.
Yes.
By the way, we are with Sue Moll here on KAKU 88.5 FM, the voice of Maui. and simulcast on Akaku Maui Community Media TV, Channel 55. Please continue. So here you are on Maui, dropped everything.
Yes.
More than dropped. You moved everything here.
Yes, we moved. We didn't bring anything other than our cases, a little bit of things from home, but that was all.
With all this kind of background and suddenly seeing visions and things, did that develop over time while you were here?
Yes, absolutely. I mean, over the years. I mean, I've been interested. I was interested when Serena, my youngest, was a baby. And yeah, I've just educated myself in different healing modalities over the years.
While then, and then after you came to Maui, because I know Maui is a mecca.
Yes.
For extraordinary spiritual growth.
Oh, absolutely.
From people from all kinds of persuasions. So it's like, if you want to wonder where Ram Dass is and Oprah and all the other, they all have some place on Maui, let me tell you.
Yeah.
Oprah and Ram Dass, I don't know why they even said that in the same breath. I can.
They're both well known.
You're good.
Yeah.
Wow. So you mentioned that you wrote books. How did that happen?
Yes.
That was obviously based on a body of experience. So I'm
so it was when soon after, it was 1997, we just moved up to Olinda. And one day after in my meditation, Yeshua came to me and said, would I be willing to be a vessel for him to write a book through me? And I was so excited, because I have to backtrack a little bit, because I've been here about 6 months, okay? And I kept saying to God every morning, what shall I do today? And I get, just be. And after about 6 months, I was getting a bit pissed off, because I really wanted to do something, because I was a doer. I was always a worker. So I had to learn to just be. So people would say, well, what are you doing? And I'd say, I'm learning to be. So, Maui has been my biggest and best teacher. A tough one, but she is the best, and I love her so much. So where was I? So I started writing every day, and that was my first book, Life on Planet Earth Made Simple. And it was to be the keys and the codes for every man, woman, and child to be able to gain mastery. But it was never actually published in English, because after 9/11, we got a message from the U.S. Immigration that we had 90 days to leave the land.
Wow.
So that was, it was really tough. Really tough, but wow. I surrendered. We all had to surrender to the fact, and as soon as we surrendered, which is the key, always the key to the divine. One day I was on the beach with a friend, and she said, I was so upset. About a month in from hearing the news, and she said, "You just got to accept it," and I really did. That day at the beach on Keawakapu, and I let go of the fact. I said, okay, God, if you want me to go to Europe, show me what you want me to do. And then Mother Maui came to me a little while later, and she said, you are a chick in my nest, and I want you to, it's time for you to fly. And she said, I want you to go back to Europe and teach all that you've learned on Maui these last 5 years. And she said, and if you don't leave, I'm going to kick you out of the nest. And I said, no, I'll go. So then I had a purpose, and I went to Europe. My one daughter, my eldest daughter, middle daughter, let's say, she got married. She was in love with someone, and they got married. And my son and my ex-husband, we'd already got a divorce, went to Europe. And myself and Serena stayed a little longer so she could finish the school year. And then I took her to England, got her a visa for studying at the university here. And she came back. She was only 16. Mother Mary told me, you have to let your baby go. We're going to take care of her. So I was once again stripped of everything I loved, everything I had known, or all my possessions. It was like I had to begin again, and I've done this again and again. And now I feel like I'm not really attached to anything. Living on the ocean where I do, right on the water, I've had to evacuate many times with tsunamis and hurricanes and things like that.
You're in Kihei area.
Yes. And every time I've had to leave, I've said goodbye and thank you. And I'm still there. It's up for sale. And it's up for sale. Yeah, has been for quite a while. And I always say to the divine, well, whenever it's time for me to move on, just find me a good place somewhere else, right? So anyway, let's see. So I was in Europe, and I just put my daughter on the bus to go to London airport to fly back to Maui to begin college. And I'm crying in bed at my parents' house in Cornwall in England. And my dad, he was mad with me, so mad with us for going to Maui because we left a good business. He couldn't understand, from his logical mind why we would have done something like that. It was very difficult for him, and he hardly talked to me for about 5 years. Anyway, I was living with him, and he said, I told you so. Anyway, that night... Did you want to say something, Jason?
I just said, just what you need. Some I told you so moments.
Oh, yes.
So just when...
Just when I was crying and, feeling so sad that she left and I was alone at home with my parents again as a 50-year-old woman. And Jesus came to me again and he said, so tell me, what do you want to do with your life? You have a clean slate. Tell me what you want to do, and I'll help you. He said, you can cry over spilt milk for as long as you like, but it's not going to get you anywhere. And so I told him, I want to teach and share all the wisdom and the spiritual knowledge that I've attained over the years and all the gifts that I have with others and to help others. And that night, an old friend who had been on tours, I used to do tours around Maui, take people from Germany and Austria, because I speak the language, obviously, around Maui to all the sacred sites. And she rang me up, and she had a retreat center in Austria, in Graz. And she said, I want you to come, and I want you to teach and do courses here in my retreat center. You can stay with me. The very same night. And so my path began. I went to Austria and I started teaching, and I published my book.
What's it called?
That was called The Life on Planet Earth Made Simple, but Wege der Bewusstwerdung in German, because it was never published in English. Okay. And I was at a congress I talked with Chris Griscom at this congress, Chris Griscom, back in the day, and I was so honored to be asked to speak and hold workshops at this huge Graz Congress, the first ever. And from there, I just, every weekend I would give workshops and teach, and I met this old friend, and we kind of hooked up again, and he invited me to speak on his platform, and he spoke about the intestines mostly. It was all about the gut, and I spoke about the body, mind, and spirit, how everything is connected. He talked about the physical aspect.
Right.
And did that for about a year and a half, and talked to hundreds and hundreds of people all over Europe. And I never knew what I was going to say. I'd say to God every night, okay, whatever you want to say. And I would say things in churches, Catholic churches, all over Europe, like, take Jesus off the cross. He's perfectly well and alive, and many things like that. I often thought, oh my goodness, they're going to burn me at the stake again, you know. But I survived. One day I remember we were in a church and I'd given a talk, and Gunther always went first, then I went second. And through me had come all about Christ and different, I can't remember exactly what I said, but I knew it was very controversial in the Catholic Church, and the priest was present. And after the event, Gunther said, oh, he's pacing around. He's really thinking about what you were saying. And I thought, oh dear, I probably really upset him. Anyway, he comes over to me, and to my great surprise, he says, Sue, thank you so much, he said. The questions I have had in theological school, you answered each and every one of them today. And so I knew that I had been speaking the truth. And that was very encouraging. So I did that until I actually, I think it was 2006, I got a message. It was giving a workshop. In the middle of it, releasing old patterns and vows was one of the main ones, among other things that I taught, like biogenesis and lithios crystals and all sorts of other things. Spirit came to me and said, this is your last seminar. In the future, it's going to be much easier. And that was it. It was like, oh, okay then. So I cancelled I had 2 or 3 workshops booked up and filled. And so I cancelled them. I didn't even do them. I followed Spirit to the T. And I didn't know what I was going to do. I didn't know, because I lived off my seminars and selling my books. At the talks every night, I'd sell about maybe 10 to 20 books, which was a lot for me, these days. And I was allowed to give private sessions still. But then I went to India, to the Oneness University, to learn Diksha, and had many wonderful experiences while I was there, lots of visions. And I'd never had a guru before, and I don't have one now. But it was a small episode of time where I experienced what it was like to worship padukas, which are the feet of the divine, in a statue form, which for me, it was always God was inside. It wasn't, right. And all of a sudden, the divine was outside. It's everywhere. She is everywhere, obviously. But it took me away from my center it was a good experience, and I learned a lot.
So in that, it brought me to wonder, when you had Yeshua speaking through you,
Yeshua, yeah. Mm-hmm.
How did that feel when you're talking about separation? You ever think about how when someone says, well, I'm part of God and Jesus, and you ever explore that kind of aspect?
Oh, absolutely. I believe that we are all coming into this, gradually being drawn closer and closer into the feeling of oneness within, because we've all been, I can only really speak for myself, but I had so much that I needed to heal, particularly with the divine masculine in regards to my father, that it's taken me a good part of my adult life to heal that, and other aspects, obviously. It's an ongoing journey, We are all doing it, right, Jason? Nobody is
We're all
exempt.
doing it.
We're all doing it. We all get to face.
Right. And we all have such a unique and different
We do.
experience. Like
we absolutely
snowflakes.
do.
We're
Yeah.
snowflakes.
Yeah. Yeah.
Boy, you're more than a one-show person. I think we're going to set up a side series. So you were teaching through the years, and
Yes.
every time I saw you, I thought, who is that interesting woman?
Oh.
And, you were in a circle. Obviously, you know Ariel.
Yes, of course.
And
yeah.
I just have been, through these years, I've been now with Ariel, God knows, 94, 30 years. 30 years.
Wow.
But we have such a rich community of whoever wants me, wants me.
Important man.
That's all right. I'm just going to put them on stun. Okay, interesting. This is from a woman who has Alzheimer's. Who, it is amazing as we're getting older, some of the people that are around us are experiencing changes in their world.
Yes.
We all are journeying together.
Yes, we are. We are. But my belief is we can rejuvenate, and that's my intention.
Meaning rejuvenate this physically.
Yes, absolutely. I was told...
Like, who would have realized that you were 104 years old?
Exactly. I'm good, aren't I?
Oh, what do you think?
Not bad. Well, so what was I going to say? Oh, now I've lost it, Jason.
That's all right.
That's it. That's the 104, it's coming through.
No, but when I hear you talking about your experience in India at the feet of a god that's represented outside you at the feet, and then I just remember you were talking to Shiva. So you're like a mass of different global experiences that have come together in a unique way to be you. I hope you'll do some kind of seminars and things here. Have you been doing some of that here in Maui?
Well, because I was told in Europe that was my last seminar, I haven't, since I came back to Maui in 2007, I haven't actually done that. I've been writing books. I wrote one book with Mary Carol Breckenridge. You knew Mary Carol? She lives where Ariel.
Probably on Face.
Yes,
but
yes.
Again, we're rich.
She was a friend and my editor, and we wrote a book together, channel book with the Great White Brotherhood, Adamus from the Inner Earth, and the Star Beings. And she would channel and I would type, and then I would channel and she would type. And it's called Messages of Illumination. It's on Amazon. Oh. And it's just as an ebook. But she has left the earth right now. And the next book was The Magical Princess. No, actually, it was the other way around. Magical Princess is about Princess Kauilani, the last princess of Hawaii. And I didn't know I was writing about her, and I was totally guided, channeled. All of the books are channeled, and I had no idea. And this is a children's book, but it's a very different kind of children's book because it's. I was told I was to write as if I'm talking to grown-ups, because the new children would understand. Because they came in with the wisdom that we have attained. They came in with it. And so I wasn't to talk to them as children, I was to talk to them as equal, and that they would be teaching us in the future, which I absolutely believe to be true. My grandchildren are just so awake, and I know very, very wise, and they continue to teach us every day with their behavior and their love. For example, my grandson, Micaiah, he's going to be 17 at Christmas. He is pure, unconditional love, that boy. And for a teenager, very different to my teenage children. Just beautiful. He's definitely got a special purpose, and I have no idea what it is, but he is just very centered in himself. He knows who he is, very quiet, very shy, but very good at everything, very artistic, very clever. So one of the new children, as most of them are. And so the Magical Princess, and I realized it was about Princess Kauilani because when I would read something in the paper or hear on the radio or on the television about Princess Kauilani, it's like I had to find out about her. I would get chicken skin, and I didn't know why. So I started researching her, watched the film when it came out in Kahului, the second day, and I just sobbed the whole way through it. On the way home, I got, you've written about the life of Princess Kauilani. And so it's out there. I mean, I'm republishing it again. Tate Publishing took it and published it for me. They wanted to. I paid for them for advertising, but unfortunately, there wasn't any advertising. So that's my problem. I am a very good visionary and artist in that form, writing, but I'm no good at getting it out there. So if anybody out there would like to assist,
please be in touch.
Yes.
That's very funny because I think it's our age group. Boy, I'll tell you, it's busy. Don't these people listen to my show? That's what I think. Every time it rings, I go, who is that calling me in the middle of my show? I'm going to tell them all. I had a couple of people say to me, well, I don't know. I've only been doing this 6 years, guys.
Oh,
But anyway, and I know that people don't listen, and it's Monday at 11, you're probably busy. But you can find it on, if you go to YouTube and put in Neutral Zone, Maui, Jason, you go, holy mackerel, look at all these shows here. So that's where your show's going to be.
Yes,
well.
Okay, well, I'm definitely going to have a look at it.
We're going to have you back, whether it's here in a studio or sitting somewhere beautiful, like
I'd
in
love
the backyard of the ocean. God knows what.
Yes.
Aren't we lucky to live here on
Maui?
Oh,
so very blessed.
Just living
Jason.
here on Maui is a
So
blessing
blessed.
that is not comparable to anything I've ever experienced.
I thank the divine every day when I lie in my hammock with my latte and gaze over the beautiful ocean and look at the mountains and just so grateful to be here. So very grateful.
There's a handful of minutes left. I'm just checking. I want to be sure that, sometimes people come in with a specific list of things that they want to be sure.
Well, I would like to just mention my my latest books, which they're published on Barnes and Nobles. They're called, it's the journey of a twin soul couple, which is me and my twin soul. And I have published 2 books, and I have a third one ready to go, and the fourth one is in progress. And it's called The Journey of the Two, Becoming One, and the Birthing of a New World. And through this process of being guided to contact my twin soul that I met in 2002, many, many years ago in Mount Shasta, was love at first sight for both of us. And we knew we knew each other. We just knew, we adored each other. It was something that I'd never experienced from the first second. Seeing him across the room, recognizing this beautiful man from afar, and having no idea about anything, and then having conversations and getting to know him more that evening. And that was the last time I saw him, like 22 years ago, 2002. And in 2020, during COVID, I was working as a caregiver, which I did for 12 years here on Maui, taking care of the elderly. And Mother Mary came to me. All of a sudden, my patient was in bed, fast asleep, just checked on her. And she said, look for this man. I won't mention his name. And I did. And I found him on Facebook, and I messaged him. And we've been communicating ever since. He's not so into... He's a musician, very successful, and is very focused on his career and making money. And he's at a different time of his life. He's much younger than I am, and we are in each other's hearts. There's no doubt about that. And I was told that we're meant to come together, as all twin souls are in this lifetime. So it's up to the divine if that is going to happen or not. We shall see.
Well, I can tell you that the time that you've spent with us, not only here but on Maui, you're always such a bright light.
Oh,
thank you for agreeing to come on and spend an hour chit-chatting here.
Oh,
can you imagine we only have a minute left?
Wow.
After all this, I remember when we're starting one, were you going to leave me where I won't have anything to say? You filled it in perfectly.
Probably never stop talking, right, Jason?
No, you were great.
It's a full life,
Well, and so much more to explore.
Yeah.
I hope you guys will do just that, explore. SUSAN MICHELE, that's the book.
Yes,
right?
yes.
And
SUSAN Michele, the books are under.
Michele.
SUSAN Michele Moll. And my website is www.theislandoflight.com.
Oh, okay.
And the books are on there too. And the link to Barnes & Nobles is on there. And sort of more about me and what I do.
20 seconds left? Holy mackerel, Andy.
Perfect timing, Jason.
Perfect timing.
Thank you so much.
For being here.
Thank you.
It has been a pleasure having you. And we're going to hit the credit. Look at that. Thank you all for joining us. We'll see you next week. Unless it's a holiday, we'll be here. Blessings. Thank you, sir.
Oh, thank you. Thank you so much.